I recover from turning the OneDrive backup feature off. Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for askleo.com. Now, to begin with, I want you to imagine that every time you hear the phrase OneDrive backup feature, you're seeing the word feature in quotes, because I don't consider it a feature at all. Honestly, I consider it a disaster, for reasons which will become apparent in a minute. As it turns out, it is very easy to accidentally turn on the OneDrive backup feature. You may even do it intentionally, not understanding some of the ramifications of having done so, but Microsoft has been very, very insistent, very, very pushy on getting this feature turned on. The intent, the sales pitch, if you will, is that it backs up your documents folder and some other folders to the cloud using your OneDrive. Unfortunately, there's a number of side effects and ramifications and honestly things that Microsoft hasn't really thought through that in the worst case can actually result in data loss. Now, one of the things that happens, of course, is that people will turn it on intentionally or accidentally. You'll just discover that it's turned on. You'll want to turn it off, which is fine. I recommend that. However, it is still, after having turned it off, quite the mess. And we're going to now clean up some of that mess as best we can. So let's start by reviewing what it is about this backup feature that makes it so weird, what happens when we turn it on, what happens when we turn it off, and what we need to clean up after we've done so. So here we are in Windows 11. On the left-hand side, we're looking at my OneDrive folder. If we could look at the path, it would be c:\users/ I think this is askleo /OneDrive. And that's what you're seeing here. That's the folder. It has exactly two things in it right now, a subfolder called Secured Encryptometer and a shortcut to my personal vault. But that's it. There's nothing else there. On the right-hand side, I have the more traditional Documents folder. This is the Documents folder that you've probably been using by default. It too lives in c:\users askleo documents. And you can see here on the right-hand side that, yeah, it's got some stuff in it. It's got some folders in it. It's got some documents in it. It's just got stuff. Now, this is the case with the OneDrive backup feature turned off. I have OneDrive running. You can see its icon down here in the lower right, but it hasn't enabled this backup feature. Let's do that. I'm right-clicking on the OneDrive icon, clicking on the gear icon so that I can get to settings. And then clicking on Manage Backup. This is the quote-unquote root of all evil. Now, you can see that it lists here 5 separate folders: documents, pictures, desktop, music, and videos. To keep this example simple, we're only going to play with the documents folder. But everything I'm about to show you applies to any of these folders. We will go ahead and turn it on and save changes. I want you to pay particular attention to the folders that we have open in Windows File Explorer in the background. I'll go ahead and hit Save Changes, close OneDrive Settings. And now, if I refresh the Documents folder, the regular, normal, default Documents folder you've been using this entire time, c:\users/username/documents, it's empty. Where did all those documents go? Well, if you noticed over here on the left-hand side, in our OneDrive folder, a new Documents subfolder was created. And I'll double-click on that. And lo and behold, there's our folders. These are the contents of what used to be in the Documents folder. What the backup feature has done is it has taken the contents of my pre-existing documents folder outside of OneDrive, created a documents folder within OneDrive, and then moved all of my documents into that folder. So I haven't lost anything per se. It's just been moved, and it's been moved within OneDrive. Now, that seems kind of benign in the sense that, okay, yeah, it's documents. It's just a different place, a different document. Unfortunately, let's say you have a free OneDrive account and you have like 5 gigabytes of online storage. If you had 10 gigabytes of documents, then all of a sudden, you've now exceeded the space available in OneDrive. And in fact, that's going to cause you some difficulties, both staving files and sending and receiving emails using Outlook.com, if that's what you do. But that's all that's happened. The documents that used to be in one folder got moved to another folder underneath your OneDrive folder so that they get copied and synchronized to your OneDrive account in the cloud. Okay, great. Let's not do that. Let's turn that off. Okay, seems like a reasonable thing to do. We will go back to the OneDrive settings. Go back to Manage Backup. And now I will turn off the backup for the Documents folder. Am I sure? Yes, I'm sure. Stop backup. Now, something happened, but not what you'd think. Remember, when we turned it on, your documents were moved from the original Documents folder to a OneDrive Documents folder. You would hope that turning that feature off would do the reverse. It does not. No files were moved. All of the documents that got moved to within your OneDrive folder are still within your OneDrive folder, and they are still being managed by OneDrive. If I change any of these documents in this Documents folder within my OneDrive, it'll get synchronized to the cloud. It'll get synchronized to other PCs that happen to use the same OneDrive account, and so on. More to the point, it won't have freed up any space. It won't have changed anything related to any space issues that you might be encountering. In fact, the only thing that the turning off of backing up the Documents folder did is it created a shortcut in the original Documents folder. This shortcut is nothing more than a shortcut to the Documents folder within OneDrive, which is not where we want our documents. So, after you have turned on and then turned off this backup feature, what you need to do is manually copy all of the files from the Documents folder that's in OneDrive to the Documents folder that is not within OneDrive. Fortunately, the way I've set it up here, it's a simple select all, drag and drop, and I'm actually going to hold down the Shift key so that these documents get moved rather than copied. And there we have it. The OneDrive Documents folder is empty. In fact, if you're so inclined, you could even go ahead and delete it. Your regular documents are back in your Documents folder. That's really all there is to it. I will throw out one additional caveat, and that is simply this. As we've experienced, Microsoft / Windows / OneDrive, whoever to blame, they're very, very persistent about encouraging you to turn on backup. They even go so far as to make you feel guilty, perhaps, for not turning it on, because who wouldn't want a backup? We all want a backup. We don't want this backup. The problem is, because of that persistence, it is very easy, perhaps even likely, that the backup feature will get turned on again. Basically, moving all of your documents back into that OneDrive documents folder. There are also concerns that some upgrades or updates to Windows, typically Windows 11, may in some cases automatically turn this feature back on. I can't stand for that. I will immediately go into my OneDrive settings after any major update for that matter, and just make sure that the setting is still off. All I really mean by that is OneDrive, gear icon, settings, manage backup, and making sure that all of these are turned off. Yep, Windows may very well complain about your not backing up. Ignore the complaints. Back up a different way, but don't rely on this backup because it is simply too confusing and unreliable. I hope that helps clarify not just what happened, but how you recover from it. For updates, for comments, for links related to this topic and more, visit askleo.com/178741. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.